AM 1280 Newstalk KIT 815. Pretty little day underway in the Yakima Valley. Richard Miller in for the vacationing Lance Tormey. Jacksonian on loan from the Smithsonian. Jackson, thanks for the yeoman's work, setting up all our interviews.
Yo.
Rounding them all up, we say yo because it's yeoman's work.
Yeoman work.
Well done. What's that?
I didn't realize Jack had been in the Navy. That's
You
a
could sail the
yeoman.
seven
Yeoman
seas.
is a rate
Yes.
in the Navy, in the U.S. Navy.
He's rated.
It's like a administrative position.
He's rated number 1 with us. Okay, so just keep your little
Yeah,
Navy.
you know that yeoman's work, paperwork. That's yeoman's work.
I thought yeoman's work was woman's work spelled backwards. Not true?
Huh?
Yeah, whatever. Look, you salts can talk to your Navy talk later on, but we're about to talk to a gentleman who likes to take his considerations to the skies. I don't know if he was in the military. I don't know if he was in the Air Force.
I'm going to guess he probably was.
But I know he flies. He is 13th District Representative Tom Dent. Tom, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Were you in the Air Force?
No, sir.
No,
I
sir.
was not.
You're just a commercial flyer, and how many years you been flying?
About 43.
43, and you're going to keep doing it till you get it right, right? Isn't that what they say?
That's the plan. That's right. That's the plan.
All right. Well, welcome to the show, Representative Dent. I was going to play a little song. We'll play it on the way out called Buffalo Stance because when we first met Tom, we were talking about his he raises buffaloes too, which Tom's just a fascinating guy. He's got a lot of different interests. Let's get your assessment as an incumbent. Let's see what you thought of this past legislative session, how you think things went, and why in the world you want to go back over there.
Oh, well, the past legislative session was fast. It moved really fast. It seemed to be everybody was just kind of wanting everything yesterday. We just had a hard time keeping up with things, but it was somewhat disappointing in some ways because things moved fast, but in the other ways it was a success because bad legislation didn't move forward, things of that nature. So that was positive. It ended up, I think, as a positive note, and we got out on time. So that was the best part. But I want to come back. This is a genuine opportunity for me to serve people and to make a difference in this world. And so, I see as 95% positive of what happens and what I do over here in Olympia, where I'm actually here today instead of in your studio. But it's just 95% positive and to make a difference in the lives for us and for our kids and grandkids.
Well, that's what we hope people will say, Tom, and I will say this just from conversations with you. I see the sincerity in what you say and what you've done over there already. You're seeking your third term?
Third term, yes, sir.
As a guy who's kind of with being with the Republicans this past year, you're kind of on the outside. Are you watching? Do we know there's any weaknesses where we might pick up a seat and change things dramatically? Are you guys scouting across the entire state at all?
I think there are some there. I'm not really immersed in the political side of this job that I have. It's I work. I spend most of my time thinking about policy and making changes and working with folks to move things forward. I do pay some attention to the politics, but not a lot. I'm just not that. I'm just not that kind of a political junkie, I guess you could say. But some of the folks that are, and I do have conversations with them. They do believe that there's some opportunity here, but I think it has a lot to do with events as they change and unfold daily. So. Yesterday was an interesting day politically. So will that make a difference? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not sure. It's right now the electorate is really hard to read. It's it's real hard to read. So I think both sides are probably struggling a little bit with what they see as maybe gains and losses.
Well, I think it's very refreshing, to be honest with you, for somebody who says, "Look, I'm not caught up in the games. I managed to get here. Now I can do the work." And I have much respect for that. There are plenty of other peoples that are all about the gamesmanship of politics. We need people that are just
thank you.
Want to roll up their sleeves and go to work. Yeah, that's how we see it. Yeah. All right, Richard Miller's here. Go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, when it comes to disasters, when things go wrong and people need to pitch in, that seems to be one area where we're able to let our political affiliations go. We pitch in. and
That's
it
right.
shows that we're capable of it. Now you have something to say about what we do in a hot summer season like we have now and how we handle fires, right? What's the solution or solutions to the problem of what seems to be getting worse every year? Lots of fires, damage to communities, burned down houses. I mean, the costs are phenomenal. What do we do about that? It's Mother Nature.
Yeah, right. Well, the catastrophic wildfires that we've been experiencing, in the last few years is definitely getting worse. That's a fact. But, when I got here, my career in aviation, what I looked at was, fire suppression efforts and how we could increase fire suppression and, get on these fires quicker and maybe do a little better job of putting them out. And, of course, I'm an advocate of using aircraft as much as possible to do that. But, as everything, I live in the desert, but as you begin to study, the issues around the catastrophic wildfires, which are mostly, in our forested areas and our timber, and you start looking at the issue. Well, the issue is we have too much fuel. Well, why do we have too much fuel in the forest? Well, several reasons. One is we've allowed our forests health to deteriorate, which so then therefore we have dead and dying trees, which contributes to the fuel problem. Number two, we don't graze much of our public land anymore, so that allows the grasses and other things to continue to grow and get larger and create more fuel. And some of the brush that grows out there in our forest has an extremely high amount of oil in it, which really makes for hot fires. So you have an unhealthy forest with a lot of dead and dying trees and a lot of grass on the forest floor, then you have this extraordinary amount of fuel. And when you do get a fire, it becomes catastrophic. They're so hot, they burn so hot and so fast that they're just impossible to stop. And also the fact that we don't log anymore. So a lot of our reforested areas, we go out there and look, and we have somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 trees per acre, and the optimum number would be between 300 and 500 trees per acre. So you put all of these things together, and then you just have the fuel loads are out of sight. When you get a fire, it's just catastrophic, and you just can't control them, and you just have to kind of you try to manage them and guide them, but they're pretty hard to just go out to control or to suppress completely. So it's an issue that we need to look forward and how we're going to increase or improve our forest health, and those things. That's where we have to go, because that's the basic cause. So I would say that's going upstream and finding the cause and fixing it.
Sure.
Suppression efforts are Band-Aids, and so it's just, we've allowed this to happen, and it's going to take a while to get this to unhappen. So, and that the fact that, weather cycles, and right now we're in a warmer cycle, so that in warm, lower humidity, that creates, the conditions more right to have these catastrophic fires.
I spent the first 25 years on the farm, and I never once caught a cow playing with a book of matches. Not once. Not one time.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
They are allowed into graze, or more people would do that. That could go a long ways to helping out too. So we just need to manage it better, and of course that will take you guys nudging our agencies and bureaucracies to maybe make that happen. I know that kids, you're a big proponent for things for kids. I know that my in-laws have worked with you on foster issues and things like that. If you get to go back there, is there anything that you'd like to go to work on that would help the young people of Washington State?
Well, I'm a big advocate for kids, and especially, supportive of our foster children that, for no fault of their own, have had a less than opportune start in life, and, how we can help them overcome some of their issues that they've had and the trauma they've experienced, and go forward and have a successful life is really important to me. So, what we're doing now is, last year we created, not in 18, but in 17, the 17 session, we created the new Department of Children, Youth, and Families, and we did that by combining Department of Early Learning with Children's Administration, which was formerly part of DFHS. We pulled that out, combined it with Department of Early Learning, and next year we'll include juvenile rehabilitation. So basically we'll have all our children issues in one place. It's a new department. And so that ended up being actually in effect on July 1st of this year. And we also, part of that legislation, we had an oversight board that was created to watch from the 30,000-foot level, so to speak, of what is happening within this department, and we can guide it and direct it the direction we'd like it to go to be successful.
So
because
it's just really getting up.
Of doing this was to change the culture of our children's agencies and be more successful. and help our people, like our foster parents, like your family and others who in our children's care centers, and support them in what they're doing, because they are early learning. They are foster care, not the agency. So that's kind of why we did this.
So it's
my effort is going to be, I'm on the oversight board. So my efforts are going to be on that for the next year or so.
They're just getting up and going, so we got to give them some time to figure out how the changes are going to be implemented and whatever they do. But that was a step to, cut from the herd those issues that are related, so they don't get lost in the bigger bureaucracy, and they can get some special focus and attention. And it encourages me to know that you're part of the oversight and keeping your eye on that. So good luck as you continue to work with that.
Thank you.
Well, if you were to pick the number one issue that, even before that, what's your take on carbon tax and all the other taxation issues? I think I know your answer, but we'll let you say it. That the left seems to want to impose on us based on a sort of a Seattle ideology.
Yeah. Well, the carbon thing is a tax. It's a tax. Okay. It's not going to fix anything. We're already, environmentally, in the state of Washington, we're way ahead of most everyone else anyway, so it's just another way to have more money. And so I can't go there. You're just going to have to prove to me something. We just want more money to spend, and we need to be prioritize our spending now, in my opinion. If we prioritize our spending, I believe at $43.6 billion we have in our general fund budget, that's plenty of money in this state. So we need to just prioritize how we spend it. So right now I can't be supportive of anything that's going to tax us more. Just doesn't work for me. So,
well said. Biggest problem facing our state as you head back, if you win, head back to the legislature, as you said, look, if we could just all marshal our efforts around one thing and get it right, what would that be?
Well, that's a big question. It is, because we do have several issues that are very important. I guess depending on where you want to go as far as welfare of people or education or economic development of these things. But the interesting thing is I try to do, and I haven't ridden with every police department, as I haven't visited every school in my district either, but I go with ride-alongs with many of our sheriff's departments, local city departments, etc., just to kind of learn what goes on in their town and get their take, because these folks they're out there, and they're on the ground and they know what's happening. And every time that I ask them, and I don't set them up, I don't pry for the answer, but I say, what can I do for you to make it better for you? You're the man on the street. And to date, every single one of them says, work on mental health. Mental health issues is what we see as the biggest problem we have, because it contributes to our homeless issues, a lot of our crimes and violent crimes, and, foster programs, all this stuff. Mental health comes into play. So I hear that, and I think that it may be pretty close to right. It's probably one of our major issues in the state as far as the well-being of people.
Your district mate said Your district mate said the same thing. Mental health, it drives gun issues in school and homeless issues and everything else. And so, we kind of punted a little bit on that with the governor this last session, and the feds weighed in, and so he sees mental health being one of the main things that need to be done. And I'm encouraged to hear you say the same thing. So we'll see if we can make some progress. Representative Tom Dent, we appreciate your time this morning. We know that you're not running unopposed, so if you win this round, we look forward to having you back and talk to you as the campaign rolls on, and we appreciate your time, and thank you for your service so far, and wish you the best of luck moving ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on today.
You betcha, Tom. Take care.